Hi, my name's Nina and I'm an 8th grader at Findlay Middle School in Huntington. Today I'll be reading She Persisted, written by Chelsea Clinton and illustrated by Alexandra Boyger. This book is in honor of Women's History Month, which is this month of March. She Persisted, 13 American Women Who Changed the World. This book is inspired by Senator Elizabeth Warren and in celebration of all the women who persist every day. Sometimes being a girl isn't easy. At some point, somebody will probably tell you no, will tell you to be quiet, and may even tell you that your dreams are impossible. Don't listen to them. These 13 American women certainly did not take no for an answer. They persisted. Harriet Tubman was born a slave, and her story could have ended there. Instead, she persisted. Escaping from slavery and becoming the most famous conductor on the Underground Railroad, she risked her life many times to lead countless slaves to freedom, including her family, friends, and strangers. Every person she led to freedom arrived safely. Once Helen Keller became blind and deaf as a toddler, few people thought she'd be able to learn to read, write, or speak. But she persisted. Helen learned how to do all three things and not only became the first person with deaf blindness to graduate from college, but also used her story to fight for more opportunities for other people with disabilities in the United States and all around the world. After her family fled poverty and the threat of violence in the Ukraine for a new home in New York City, Clara Lemlich got a job working at a garment factory. She wrote that the factory's conditions made women into machines, and so she persisted, organizing picket lines and strikes that ultimately helped win better pay, shorter hours, and safer working conditions for thousands of workers, both men and women. Nellie Bly became a reporter in part because a male writer had said that working women are a monstrosity, and that she wanted to prove that women could do anything. At times putting her safety at risk, she persisted throughout her career in exposing real monstrosities, pretending to be a sweatshop worker and a patient in a mental hospital to show how badly people were being treated. Inspired from an early age by her brother's childhood illnesses, Virginia Opgar was determined to become a doctor, long before many girls had such dreams. Even though she qualified to become a surgeon, the male head surgeon at her hospital discouraged her because she was a woman. Nevertheless, she persisted, becoming an anesthesiologist and creating the Opgar score to test a newborn baby's health, which hospitals all over the world still use today. After Maria Tallchief's family moved to California, partly to support Maria's dreams of becoming a dancer, she was teased by students in school for her Native American heritage and later was encouraged to change her last name to something that sounded more Russian, since many professional dancers at the time were from Russia. She persisted, ignoring all the taunting and poor advice to become the first great American prima ballerina. As a 15-year-old riding a bus home from school in Montgomery, Alabama, Claudette Colvin was expected to give up her seat to a white woman just because she was an African American. In her refusal to get up, she persisted, in taking a stand for what's right, helping to inspire Rosa Parks to make the same choice 9 months later, and act many point to as starting the modern civil rights movement. When Ruby Bridges was in kindergarten, many schools across America, particularly in the South, still refused African American students their equal right to an education. Ruby wouldn't be treated like a second-class student, and she persisted, walking for weeks past angry, hateful protesters to integrate an all-white elementary school in New Orleans. As the first woman to serve as both a U.S. representative and a U.S. senator, Margaret Chase Smith could have let that fact alone be her legacy. Instead, she persisted in championing women's rights and more opportunities for women in the military, standing up for free speech and supporting space exploration. The head of NASA once noted that we wouldn't have put a man on the moon without Margaret. Sally Ride always believed women could succeed in any math or science career. Although not everyone agreed, she persisted, and she became the first American woman in space. But that wasn't enough for Sally. She traveled into space once more, and then created science and engineering programs specifically for girls so she could help generations of young women achieve their dreams, to both on Earth and in outer space. When as a kid, Florence Griffith Joyner visited her father in the Mojave Desert, he would urge her to run faster and faster, to run as fast as a jackrabbit. Even when she had to leave college to help support her family, she persisted. In her training on the track, then went back to school and got faster and faster. Her unbroken world records in the 100-meter and 200-meter sprints, set at the 1988 Summer Olympics, mean is still the fastest woman ever. Oprah Winfrey's grandmother expected Oprah to follow in her footsteps and become a maid. Oprah knew even as a little girl that her dreams would take her somewhere else. She persisted in turning those dreams into a reality and became a media superstar, working in movies, books, magazines, theater, and most of all, television, where The Oprah Winfrey Show remains the highest-rated talk show of all time. Watching fictional judges on television inspired Sonia Sotomayor to want to be a real-life judge when she grew up. She knew she'd have to speak English as well as she spoke Spanish, study hard in school, and manage her diabetes before she could one day wear a judge's robe. With a gavel in hand, she persisted, eventually becoming a Supreme Court justice and the first ever Latina to sit on America's highest court. So if anyone ever tells you no, if anyone ever says your voice isn't important, or your dreams are too big, remember these women. They persisted, and so should you. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed.